Welcome back to the workshop, guys. I've been sorting through my monitors. This one works good. Tube was rejuved. This one works good. Tube was rejuved. Needs a recap. That goes without saying. These all need recapped. That's just a new tube. And this guy right here is another Matsushita monitor, and it works, but it just needs to be rebuilt. It's a dead G07. My Nintendo monitor, no heater voltage, it needs a flyback. This one right here is another Matsushita, which no heater voltage, probably a flyback as well. Which I have a spare. This Matsushita chassis had a busted neck, so I'll probably take the flyback off of that and see if that will save that guy. There's my monitor that is going in millipede. This one is vertical collapse. This needs to be rebuilt. Got another dead guy back here and another dead guy here, and just a tube. And I got about 5 more tubes out in the garage. Just tubes. G07 tubes. Well, what I started filming this one for is I got a new repair, and someone shipped me a 4600 monitor. And look how they packed it. This is beautiful. So I'm documenting this because I'm going to make sure that I send it back exactly this same way. And there's 2 boards, a Pac-Man and a Dig Dug, that was sent. So let's get this stuff out. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to plug this in and see if we get anything out of it. Okay, I got the 4600 out on the bench, and I've got millipede running, and it's hooked up to it. And you can see this has got some awesome free play Pac-Man burn in it. But I got it turned on right now, and this thing does, it's got high voltage. Our neck is glowing. So this is not a flyback problem, which is typical on 4600s. It's not a flyback issue. 4600s have the best flybacks that were ever made. So this thing, I'm going to have to check out the tube. I think that's the first thing I'll do is I kind of messed around and resat stuff a little bit, and it didn't make no difference. So I'm kind of thinking that I'll put my tube tester on here and see how the guns are looking and whatnot. See if it's see if the tube's even any good. So all right, let's do that. I'll be back. Okay, I've got all the setup done, and this is without doing anything. I'm just looking at the guns, and they're all great. So honestly, I'm not going to mess with it. I'm not doing anything. I'm just going to shut this off and turn all my knobs down. This is a good tube. I'm not juving it. I'm not doing anything to it. So I'm going to take this apart, and we'll start taking this guy apart. This is purely a chassis problem. So let's start digging into this thing. Okay, I went through and I recapped this monitor, and I re-soldered all the connections, all the interconnect connections and everything. And it's still not working, but now I remember something. See, I talked to the owner of this quite a while ago, And now I remember, because I'm seeing the same thing. I remember him saying that it flashes, and then when you turn it off, you know, it flashes when you turn it on, and then it'll flash again when you turn it off. And what that's telling me is this thing goes into shutdown immediately. And that is something I am going to have to look at a manual and a schematic for, because I have no idea what causes that in this thing. But I took this pot out, the screen pot. I took it out and tested it out of circuit. That pot is fine. This is a failure. Maybe that the power section. My first guess is this little power section on the side here. There's a regulator, or that's a transistor. I don't know if that's a regulating TO3 thing, like a regulating I don't know. There's a couple resistors over here. I'm going to look at a schematic and find out what causes this thing to shut down. It's an over voltage of some sort. So, you know, they'll shut the I don't know if it's shutting down the high voltage or if it's shutting the screen voltage down. I don't know. I think it's just the screen voltage goes out, which is kind of weird, because it would shut the high voltage out, I would think. I don't know. Let me see something here. Okay, plugged it in. I wish I had a means to test and see if there's high voltage. I used to know something about putting an LED in a straw or something and hold it down by the flyback, and it'll glow if there's high voltage. I don't know. I might try that. Why not? Science experiment time. I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm getting the same thing. It shuts off. It's going into shutdown. And I've been looking at the schematic. I checked all of the power, and the B plus is within 3 volts, so that's not a problem. So my power supply is good on the monitor. I believe the high voltage unit itself is good. I think the problem is on this board. This is where all the protection circuit and stuff is. I've already capped it. But now I'm getting ready to go through, and I'm gonna look at all the transistors. There's 2 transistors that are the protection circuit transistors. Those 2 are right here and here. But I'm gonna go through all the transistors on this thing. And I may even check all of these capacitors to see if something's shorted. Something's funky with this board, I believe. I think is my problem. Because I've been looking on this chassis here, and really isn't much going on here. There's diodes, but there's not any transistors or anything like that to go bad. So, all likelihood, I'd say this is all good. I think my whole problem is that board right there. This is the XY, the horizontal and vertical board. And it's like all of the circuit, the circuitry for that kind of stuff is on this board. So this is what I'm going to focus on. Alright, I'm going through testing all of the transistors. And this one right here, I don't know if it's just something weird with the connection. But now it's looking fine, but it goes away. It just comes and goes for some reason. See? And all I'm doing is just kind of doing this. I don't think it's a connection issue. I think this is a funky transistor. I don't know. I'm going to replace it anyway. I've got 1,000 of these things, so I'm going to replace this one. The other ones that I've tested seem to be fine. This one is the only one that acts a little goofy. So I'm going to go ahead and replace this guy. Alright guys, now I've discovered something interesting. I put the thing back together after replacing that one transistor on the horizontal / vertical board. And I checked all the transistors, and I even checked some values on resistors and diodes, and everything was looking good except for that one was a little flaky. I replaced that, and I was getting the same thing. So I just came over here and I was like, well, what is this? This thing was plugged into a lug down here. This white guy coming off of here was plugged into here. I just unplugged it, and if I plug in the monitor, oh, you see I have a picture. I have something going on anyway, and I can mess with the brightness and turn it up and down. So it's I think it's on the sync board. I'm not exactly sure, but I think it's on the sync board. So I'm going to take a look at that sync board now and see if there's anything funky on it. Check the transistors out on that guy. So get to that and see what it looks like. Okay, I'm messing around with this guy and I found something that's funny. I pulled a couple transistors off and tested them. They test fine. VR201 I removed. Remember, it's soldered onto the back. I removed that guy. It's right here. It's a 1.5K pot. And I'm across the two leads and I get no reading. It is just open. Now if I take, now bear with me, you know what, I'm going to set this up on the tripod and come over here and grab this guy and let's just do this and zoom in a little bit. Okay, now I'm on here, right? And there's no reading. I'll go ahead and I'll take one of these and go over to here. This is the black level pot, by the way. And now I get no reading. I'm getting no reading, but if I spin this, now I'm getting a reading. It's reading 13 ohms. And I'll keep spinning. That's the very end of the travel. Now I'll spin it the other way. And it's going up. And now it's at about 300 ohms. No, now it was reading mega ohms. This pot is no good. So I think that's why. I think it's just constant black level. Infinite black level, I think, is what's going on. So I'm going to replace this. This pot's no good. 1.5K. So I'll do that and come back. Well, I got the card back in. It's all hooked up. And as you can see, that was it. We got our screen back. It was just completely blacked out, that bad pot. So let's go ahead, hook a signal up to this thing and check it out. Well, I gotta say, guys, that looks good to me. Nice and bright. It's got a good picture. Let's turn off the light and see if it glows. Yeah, I'd say it looks pretty awesome. It's a little bright. I see red popping through a little bit. Okay. And this is just preliminarily adjusting it. There's these position jumpers on the back that will move the picture this way and this way. So I'm going to leave that up to the owner of this because I don't know how it'll look on a Pac-Man. Although I could set it for him. I will do that because he sent me a Pac-Man board as well, because this came out of a Pac-Man. So I'll set that, but this looks beautiful. I recapped it. It had the bad pot. And that's about it. You know, recapping and a bad pot. So, and yeah, this thing pops. It's beautiful. Alright, guys, that's it for this one. I'll have a Pac-Man repair coming up because it's came with this and a Dig Dug. The guy sent me a Pac-Man and a Dig Dug board, but this is for his Pac-Man game. The monitor went out and it's got a board problem. So awesome. Alright, well guys, that's another monitor repair. I'm getting into doing more monitors, you know, so that's kind of cool. Yeah. Wells Gardner 4600. These are my favorite monitors, I think. These and the G07. These right here are kind of a pain in the ass to work on though, because it's not easy to take that chassis out of the frame. Okay, well, that's it guys. I will see you on the next repair.